I'm interested in specifically the kind of music that you were playing at the time. Because from what I've read, it seems like you were kind of like y'all were raised on a lot of like, or you were listening to at the very least a lot of old jazz and some 50s and 60s kind of stuff. And like, if that's true, I'm fascinated in how sort of the sound. It's not true.
No,
All
it
right.
is. It is. It is.
Lies. The internet lies.
No, it is very true.
My heart beats in stereo. I'm all over the place. I wanna go to Tokyo. I wanna resonate. So tell me I cannot waste my time. Now that my eyes have gone red like wine. Yeah, the Kool-Aid, it ain't my style. Just let me go.
Welcome to the Marinade, a free-flowing conversation about the creative process with creative people. Each episode, we welcome musicians, actors, comedians, authors, visual artists, filmmakers, anyone who creates art to talk about how and why we make stuff. This is episode 170, and our guests are Philipp and Clemens from the band Milky Chance. Milky Chance is a chart-topping, genre-defying band from Germany whose debut single Stolen Dance made them a household name back in 2013. They've gone on to release 4 excellent full-length records, including 2023's Living in a Haze. Y'all, this opportunity is a huge thrill for me. I loved Stolen Dance from the first listen, and I'm honored that Clemens and Philipp sat down with us for such a thoughtful conversation. We caught up at Bonnaroo 2024 in the media tent behind the What stage. Y'all, that's where we are right now. Bonnaroo with global pop stars. Thank you so much for everybody who has listened to the Marinade and makes these opportunities possible. And if you're new to the show, welcome everyone. My conversation with Philipp and Clemens of Milky Chance.
Okay. So we don't talk straight, like kind of like this.
Just like that's perfect, yeah.
Gotcha.
Guys, thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having us, man.
I was just saying off mic how like like anybody that has a pulse, Stolen Dance was, my introduction to your music. But what got me listening, like really paying attention, was y'all played Big Guava Fest in Tampa. And it was a killer lineup. Like Ryan Adams played, and The Strokes, and Pretty Lights, and
nice.
The fucking Pixies. I want to say y'all were like on right before the Pixies, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that festival, but it was. I remember where I was standing watching the show. I was standing like stage left, like kind of midway back, and I was like, these motherfuckers. This is such a killer show. Like the energy that you brought, how great you sound, the chemistry between you.
Thank you.
So that was like my introduction. Really, that was when I really paid attention. Obviously the hit got my attention, but that's when I really started truly paying attention to your music. So
Sweet, man.
I'm stoked for the show today too.
Yeah.
It's quite different.
It's quite different. Yeah, I think we grew quite a bit from that time. I mean, we're a 4-piece. I almost feel back then we probably were a 3-piece.
I think so.
still.
Yeah.
And we're a 4-piece now. We have a drummer, and also now for more than 6 years. And I think the energy got even better. And just us as a band, we played for a long time now. So hopefully you get impressed again.
I'm sure I will. Well, let's talk about that evolution then. Like, how conscious are you of thinking about the change from that time to now with specifically the live performance?
Well, I think we are the most conscious now. It was a process. Like we obviously, as you said, started off with having a pretty big hit on the first record, and that took the whole thing up really quick, and we had to, kind of grow as a live band kind of after that, just because we didn't actually intend to be a band once we recorded that album. So that album being so big at the beginning was kind of a start ahead of us being an actual band.
Uh-huh.
So we started as 2 and kind of like struggled it for a while to like, how do we do it on stage? And then we became 3. And so it just was a process. And I'd say like the band that we actually wanted to be, it's like more like 6 or 7 years now that we're like a 4-piece and just figured out how we translate the music that we record in the studio onto stage. And yeah, I think we're really happy where we're at, and kind of like, yeah, became the band we wanted to be.
That's beautiful. Well, so let's go back to the origin then. I mean, because I am interested in y'all's origin story, kind of growing up together, right?
Mhm.
And I'm interested in specifically the kind of music that you were playing at the time. Because from what I've read, it seems like you were kind of like y'all were raised on a lot of like, or you were listening to at the very least a lot of old jazz and some 50s and 60s kind of stuff. And like, if that's true, I'm fascinated in how sort of the sound. It's not true.
No,
All right.
it is.
Lies. The internet lies.
No, it is very true. I mean, it is, if you think of it as the phase, you know, as teenagers, where I guess the imprint of things is. I just realized that, like, last week I was on a camping trip and I drove a lot, and so I listened through the whole Red Hot Chili Pepper stuff.
Uh-huh.
That, for example, for me was a huge thing I was into, and
They were here last night.
and it just blew me away. Like, I listened to the album and I could sing every lyric, and
Yeah.
I could every solo and everything I knew, and it's just I was so like, wow, it's crazy how deeply imprinted
Yeah.
that memory and music, and like how much it makes you feel, and kind of like it's very something so familiar, like
Yeah.
the feeling when you listen to music that you like soaked in so deep as a teenager.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like back then a lot of Bob Marley, Tallest Man on Earth,
Uh-huh.
the Red Hot Chili Peppers, James Blake, but also even before that, Ray Charles, Amy Winehouse. We just, we also both like had guitar teachers, and we did like some Django, like gypsy jazz. We had that phase of just playing standards a lot, the girl from Ipanema, that kind of style, just to kind of like, I mean, the kind of classic way of learning an instrument.
Is this like in class in some way, or are y'all like gigging? Are you playing
Both.
like
Like
okay.
we were in a music class in a high school that was kind of like an intensive music course thing. So we also sang in a choir. There was a big band and a orchestra, and but we were not in that band. We had our own band with like our homies. We were always kind of like the rest, the rebels who like wanted to do their own shit. So we had a band with our homies, and we gigged around. We played on weddings and funerals and that kind of stuff. And but at the same time, we also had like private teachers that we would go to, and they taught us a lot, and that was amazing.
How has y'all's relationship? I mean, it's crazy. We were just talking about how 2015 is the first record pops, and then it's crazy to think that's nearly a decade now, right?
I know.
And you go back so far. How has your relationship, like the two of you, changed over the years, creatively and personally?
You want to say something?
I don't know. Yeah. I have to think about it. Do you?
Well, I think we were great friends in high school. That's how we met,
Yeah.
in the same class, and we started to hang out. But at the very first day, we came from different schools to that school, and we didn't know anyone else. So it was kind of like you check out the other kids, and then we felt quite connected like immediately, and we went home with another friend and started jamming, because it was kind of like that thing, like, hey, I'm Phil, I'm playing guitar, and like that's what you had to do in that class. And then so I'm saying music and friendship was the very foundation. Like, it came at the same time, we felt like humanly connected,
Yeah.
and at the same time music was the very first like common ground that we had. So I feel like that grew very similarly together. Like, it was so deeply in our friendship, and through the whole high school time we had a band. We spent just every day together, and then we started that project, and saw each other kind of like grow into becoming professional musicians, which I think was a blessing and feels really good, because with all the highs and lows that brings and
Yeah.
the challenges, we always kind of like had that friendship side that we could rely on, which is very important because obviously also like having a very big success at an early stage, you know, brings some sort of overwhelming
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, I think we just it's good to like have that friendship to share the same kind of like life experiences as well, because obviously with like all the other homies, everybody does its own, right? One becomes a chef, the other one becomes a carpenter, and then like you go on tour and you come back and the experiences are very different. And so I think it was really important for us to be in there together and kind of like have someone else who understands where you're growing into
Yeah.
and where you get to. Yeah. That. Do you want to add something?
No, yeah. When you were just talking, I was also thinking about the that we've been very lucky with that our lives kinda there's a lot of parallels. So I mean, you could like, as you said, you know, like once you finished high school, everyone, you know, is following their own path kind of way.
Yeah.
And we, like, I think also like through many coincidences landed on the same path. Also like, you know, becoming parents at a very young age, you know, stuff that doesn't really have to do anything with the music. There were like a lot of very life-changing moments and happenings that happened to us at, you know, kind of at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was, and that was very also like, very, very useful, like to grow together, having the understanding for each other, because we were in a lot of, on a lot of levels, we were kind of in the same situation, in the same boat, you know? So mutual understanding. And then, because, you know, like, I mean, for example, that thing with the parenting, you know, when, like, if only one guy in the band has kids, probably, you know, it's like, and the other one's just, like, going crazy and, like, living their single whatever life and, like, you know, don't understand the hustle and, like, the, you know, being away from home, all that kind of stuff. So I think these are also, like, all these things brought us to where we are now. In a relationship also.
Man, so this is great. All right, so I'm super interested in, because it sounds like parenting is going to be part of the answer to this question, but you mentioned that early success, and it's huge fucking success. But as I'm talking to you guys right now, you're incredibly down to earth. You're incredibly approachable. Every interview I've seen with you, same thing. You seem like incredibly grounded individuals. What kind of work did you do to make sure that happened? That like you stayed what I'm perceiving right now, which is like very down to earth, grounded guys.
I would say that's also like maybe like things that always have been and still are like things that are important to us.
Yeah.
It was also like maybe the same thing, you know, it was not like that I just want to be in the spotlight and, you know, and get all the attention and loving the fame and blah, 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 and getting lost in that. We were both, like, very, like, stick to our, like, friends, you know, like, a lot of friends from high school, family, people around us that are close. We were never, like, really looking for that attention, I would say, you know, just, like, that's so same thing, like, those were just like things that are important to us, and I think we felt the same.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the credit also goes what you said. The answer is kind of parenting. Like the credit goes out to our, you know, whoever like raised us. Mostly, or definitely our parents, but the whole social circle of friends, and I don't know. It's just how we're like socialized. You know, like that's how we grew up. That feels natural to us. Like that's just, I mean, as well. I mean, as much as like, I guess that's just also, character trait that we feel humanness and just real connection and all that is just most valuable to us. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's also
Sharing the same values.
yeah.
So I mean, but yeah, it's like the outside and the inside. It's a mix of that.
Yeah. It's beautiful too that we're recording this on Father's Day. Is Father's Day a German thing too?
Wait, is today Father's Day?
Yeah.
But the American or like the world is it worldwide?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Congrats, man.
Hey. Happy Father's Day, guys. That's awesome.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Should I write my father then? Or?
I called mine this morning, so no pressure, guys. But
I mean, he's there in Germany, so
Yeah.
it's like we're late. We're late.
okay.
We're late.
Were they, speaking of fathers or uncles or family or folks around you? I mean, it sounds like you had a hell of a musical education growing up in terms of being exposed to great music. Where was that coming from? Was that did you have record collections that your parents or uncles had or anything like that?
Oh,
Rants.
wild mix, I would say.
Yeah, it's everything. I
mean,
mean, it's not like our parents are musicians or something.
Yeah.
That's not the case. But they were also always supportive, and there was music around. Is it the music teacher? Is it the records of the parents, or like the friend of the friend, or the guitar teacher? I don't know. There was just a lot of music happening around, and it's always been, I guess, also individually for us in early life through different events. For me, probably it was also like when my parents split and the hustle started, or like some sort of the trauma kicks in. Like, there was definitely like events where like music became super important in terms of a safe space and just some very grounding and good haven to express,
Yeah.
And I guess that just, so it was also like an outside and very internally like place to go to. It's a religion almost,
I talk about it like that a lot. It's my church. I
Right,
mean,
right.
moments like this, like last night, Cigarettes After Sex played, and it was just like I don't feel anything in a pew like I felt last night at
Yeah.
Cigarettes After Sex, right? Like,
And I think it's the most unifying if you think of it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's any language, religion, cult, anything, because music, anyone, no matter where you're from, will understand it. There's no like, oh, but I see it like this. Oh no, but I see it like this. Oh, it's actually different. Like, it's like
Yeah.
when music hits, it hits.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just it.
Which I think is one of the, just as a commentary on your music, which I think is what is so powerful about your music, is that, I read a bunch of stuff preparing for this, and it's interesting to see journalists try to explain your sound,
Yeah.
Like, nobody seems to know what to do with it, and I don't either. I'm not pretending like I have the answer. I just thought
We don't have it either.
I just think that's so great, though, right? It's like that speaks to what you were just saying.
But one day I had a good
Somewhere in between.
One day an Uber driver asked us, like, we were in the Uber and the classic small talk started, and they're like, what you doing? And we're like, yeah, we're doing music. And he's like, oh, what kind of music? And I was like, good music. And he
Hell
was like,
yeah.
all right, right on.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
Very confident.
You wanted to say life-changing, earth-shattering
Right,
music, but you're like,
exactly.
I'll just go with good. I
no,
don't want to
but
be a dick.
honestly, that's just, also when people ask, like, what are you into? What do you like? And it's like, honestly, anything that it's good.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what genre. We've never been into like one genre. It's never been like, also as teenagers, we had this like only funk or crunch or only rock or only jazz. Like, it was always, we were all over the place, and we listened to classical music, and we listened to like some African choirs, and it's like, it's been always all over the place. And I think that it's kind of like parallel, or it's a good analogy what you said about our understanding, I guess, for the world, or just how we perceive as humans.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really matter what it's made of, as
Yeah.
long as it's good.
Yeah. Well, and I think good is very hard to define, and
Yeah,
but
good
you
is
know
the
it, right?
wrong word, or like
I mean, good and bad are
it's not like broad enough.
very
Like,
simplified.
Yeah.
it's too narrow.
But you know quality when you hear it, right? And like,
Yeah,
I
mean,
think.
good in my
No?
term is like, yeah, it's obviously not like quality in a sense of like judging it. Good is just like if it speaks to you, and of course like that's connected to taste, and it's very personal. Like who likes, you know, for one, like Eminem is the greatest, and then the other one just loves to listen to Mozart, and like
Yeah.
it's also like how you're built. But I guess there's just, when I say good, it's more about the what the artist or the creator of the music sends into it.
Yeah.
Because I can also like be very impressed and think like this is really good, and it doesn't hit my
Yeah.
taste thing,
Yeah.
you know, like it's not like, oh, I love that
Yeah.
shit.
That's
but
Taylor
it's
Swift
like,
for me. Yeah.
oh, this is
Yeah.
well made, and somebody is like putting good shit out there,
Yeah.
even though it's not my taste.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's what I
Yeah.
mean with good.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many artists like that it just I can appreciate it, but just it ain't for me.
Yeah,
You know.
and that's okay. I mean, that's with
Yeah.
everything, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, all right. So let's dive into process if we can, because what I gather seems like your creative process is organic. It's almost feels. Tell me if this is accurate or not. Almost feels as you're making a record improvisational. Is that accurate? Like, what does it look like when y'all are coming together to write?
that's actually very correct.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
just throwing in ideas all the time, basically.
yeah.
Very, yeah. Sometimes someone brings an idea in the room, and then we have a starting point. Sometimes you just go from zero, and then like everyone is everything. I mean, I don't sit at the computer. I don't do that, but except that we all do. We all play everything. You know, once, yeah, everyone picks up any instrument. We write, we compose. So it's
Right. I mean,
It's a group thing.
Process for sure. And if you look at our history of albums, the first album was super raw and very. It's almost a live album, because anything we recorded was one take. It wasn't like, okay, let's record verse, and then okay, now we record chorus. It was like it went through like guitars, everything, and we didn't flex. We didn't like put it on time. So it's almost a live recording if you think of it.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we doubled things and like recorded 2 guitars, but always through. Like we didn't like, you know, it's not like, and we didn't pitch vocals. Like they're all raw in there. Like
Wow.
there's no pitch in there at
Wow.
all.
Yeah.
Which is insane to me, kind of.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Props to him as much as like.
Yeah.
I guess the vibe in that album also just is that the natural sound of mistakes
Yeah.
makes the art.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. But
also a tricky thing.
It's a tricky
because
thing
like
for
back
sure,
then we
but-
didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
But once you know once you know how to do it,
it's in your
you
head.
just like
Yeah.
you also
Yeah.
like you wanna. Oh, but like, but
Yeah.
we can.
It could be more
We can
Yeah.
make it perfect, and then also like your ears get used to it.
Yeah.
And you hear the mistakes more.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, also in a
really-
way, like we got better, right? Like we.
Sure.
I would hope so. Like
Yeah.
we're better instrumentalists. We're better singers and composers now, that just because we do it a lot more. But
Yeah.
it's true what he says. At the same time, you sometimes lose in that, like the. I mean, I think that's what someone I admired, or another artist, what he was saying is like, it's almost the goal is to have the mistake in creation. The mistake is where most creativity is happening, because it's what you're not intending to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of a spiritual art, you know, but I
Yeah.
feel like there's some truth about it, that like in art the mistake often is, and obviously mistake is not literally translated in what, let's say, like the mistake in math
Sure.
is, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mistake is
Yeah.
like what happens in the moment without seeing it happen.
Yeah.
Coming.
Yeah.
And I think there's something very valuable about it. And we still, what you said, I think we are very intuitional still with like how to write songs, how to find sounds, how to create moods. I think mood for us is a very important thing. Like, because I also talked to another artist, and he said every time he writes, it starts with like immediately like lyrics. Like basically he thinks about things being said to him, or I don't know, like things he picks up, and that's his starting point, and he goes with lyrics, where like we almost in 95% of the cases always start with melody and mumbling and kind of improvise about
Yeah.
over a riff or something that we have, like a little loop, or I don't know.
Yeah.
So we still very much come from like where the music kind of dictates to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The music. It's all about the music.
It does fucking rule. There's something very freeing about like almost an ignorance to how you're supposed to do it, right? Like I can relate to what you were just saying about once you sort of get better and you sort of know your craft a little bit better. I just recently wrote something covering a different festival, and it's going to be published in like a larger publication than most of my work is typically published in, right? And I wrote it, and I was really in my head, whereas when I first started writing about music 10, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I guess now at this point, I would just write whatever it is that I was feeling in the moment. I would just describe things as I saw them, as I experienced them, and I wasn't in my head about it,
Right.
you know? And now I wrote that piece, and I didn't hear back from anybody until this morning, and I was just like, what the fuck? Do they hate it? They think I'm an idiot? You know, like, cause now I'm in my head, whereas 10 years ago, I wouldn't have worried about it.
Yeah, it's the classic like
I think
growing up syndrome.
Yeah, it's also
all have it.
like it's a big challenge, or when it comes probably to any kind of craft or like creative thing, that you stay like the more you learn and the more like information you get kind of about the craft, also like from others.
Yeah.
Sometimes like the harder it gets to maybe like think out of the box.
Right. I mean, it's
You
with
know?
everything, not just like crafts.
Yeah,
Like,
with everything.
think
It's
of like kids. Like
you know,
you
like-
put a kid on the playground, he's gonna go to the next child and just be like, let's play. Like we don't need to like figure out, do we like each other? He wears these shoes.
Yeah.
Is he in this kind of like? Does he like me? Will I like him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like
Can we get
Yeah.
that
you just play,
microphone?
and even
Sorry.
if it's like it's just gonna be for like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
They play and then they say bye, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's all good. You know,
Yeah,
the simplicity of like not thinking through like, should I go over there right now? Should I talk to them?
Right.
All that stuff doesn't happen. It's
Yeah.
like, there is something about this. I mean, we all are trees and we get shaped.
Yeah.
And it's so pure to see in like younger stages with anything. How beautiful the first cuts. The first cut is the deepest. She said it. She said it.
I mean, yeah, it's also like really at some
It's kinda
points
sad.
really
It's
sad.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah.
shaping process, I feel like in most of our societies is very more less shaping, but more like cutting off.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
the you
It's
know
like putting it in those
the
machines, like-
sensors and everything.
Yeah.
You know? 'Cause-
Yeah.
And then
Instead
we
of
all like. I mean, it's the same thing with school. Like most of the schools, I think they try to bring everyone down to the same level. It's not about like
Any religion.
yeah. It's not individual. It's not about like
bringing out the
bringing out
diamond.
the you know their
Yeah.
talents and let that grow, and like, you know, because we don't work the same. Like everyone has its own.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, okay, so
It's
the
like-
teacher in me is coming out. So I'm a
Alright.
teacher by day, okay? And
Alright.
so, you know, American schools have terrible reputation for a lot of reasons, and very well-deserved terrible reputation for what you were just talking about, right? For trying to bring everybody down to the middle, kind of, you know, not nurturing. And this isn't every school, obviously. The school that I work for, thankfully, is not like this. It really does nurture kids in the way that they need to be nurtured and meets them where they need to be met, and I'm grateful for that. But it was that y'all's experience growing up. It sounds like it was, that you felt like the schools that you went to weren't necessarily meeting you where you needed to be.
I was on both, to be fair. Like, I mean, I changed school a lot because my parents moved a lot and split and blah. So I was, I think, in total in like 5 or 6 schools. So I kind of like had the public rough school and I had the private like very Catholic weird ass school. And I had the like musical intensive course, kind of like actually cool, like lots of opportunity school. So I feel like I've seen quite a bit of it. But also now as parents, it's a different, you know, my old one is 9 and yeah, it's just whenever in school, and it also, unfortunately, I mean, of course the system is important, but by the end of the day, like teachers are so important.
Yeah.
Because like it stands and falls with the person in front of you being inspiring to you or not. And like if a teacher there just hates coming there, or like it's just like I don't really give a damn or whatever, then it's gonna be hard for you to learn. But if like somebody is up there and just it's inspiring and is understanding and like likes to see you learn and like sees you like, oh man, there's something sparking, you know, like, and gives you more. And I think it's all about that. And they need a good structure, right? Like but that's why like teachers, it's funny, for example, like I feel teachers in Germany are in the upper or in a good middle class, where like here I feel like they're kind of like not, or like I don't know, it's like, and it's the other way around with nurses. Like our nurses back at home, very at the bottom.
Interesting.
And here, I feel like nurses are quite. It's like the other way around, right? Teacher is nurse, and in Germany it's nurse teacher, which is both not. Like both should be right up
100%.
there, right? Like
100%.
Very important jobs, I'm saying. So it's just, but it kind of just confirms what you're saying, that here in America, I guess there's like the importance of the teacher is maybe not yet worshipped.
I like
enough.
the yet. I appreciate that. I appreciate that optimism.
Come on, I mean,
not yet.
Little word.
Not yet.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be, optimistic about it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, so did either of you have, or both of you have, you mentioned that inspirational teacher. Either of you, can you think of somebody that like really inspires you and shout them out even maybe?
I mean, I give a shout out to my
Many, I would say many. It's really
right. My most important one was probably kind of a stepdad. Like when my parents split, I lived for a while with my best friend and like his family, and his dad was a pastor, and I'm very not religious, but he taught me very great values. That's why I have kind of like I'm in a good spot with religion.
That's great.
But
jealous of that.
And he was a musician. So like back then when I went with them and lived with them, he had a studio, he was a saxophone player. And me and his son, like my best friend, he was a drummer, and we started playing music and all that. That was very important. And so there's definitely a shout out to that. And he would, you know, help us record, and he would play standards with us, and
cool.
He was just like giving us a lot of that playground of like, hey, let's jam, you know?
Yeah.
Support, a lot of support. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people. For me, first time I was like impressed by someone playing the guitar was my uncle. He had a country band. So that was like in the when I was like really like 7, 8 years old. I was always like, you know?
Yeah.
But I started when I was 12. So, and then I think also same thing. My parents, they just like gave me all the space to spend a lot of time in playing music and experiencing it, and they also like, you know, they were
in the house where we recorded the first album.
Yeah,
and we were pumping the shit in his child room right above the living room.
Really loud.
That's awesome.
And they let us do, you know.
That's
kind
awesome,
of mom,
man. What a
she
gift.
would not say a word. She would just come up and bring us cookies and be like, you guys are hungry?
You know, like,
I'm gonna make dinner. And we're like,
Oh, that's amazing.
So I think that was super important. Also, like not pressuring us or like me, like, you know, like that classic thing, like, oh, you know, when you finish high school, like, what do you want to do with your life? Or like, do you want to go to university or blah blah blah? They just let us do, and they gave us all the space and all the support, and just like, you know, do your thing, like.
Yeah.
I think that was very important.
Yeah. That's incredible.
We had all that freedom, you know, and we didn't have to fight for it.
Yeah. That's what a gift. I mean, again, so appropriate on Father's Day. We're talking about family like this. Like, how beautiful that you had that kind of support. I can picture your mom coming up with the cookies and the, you know, because that's such a universal understanding, right? If you had, you know, like always make sure you keep the boys fed, right? Make sure they're taken care of.
And
That's
she's
great.
an amazing cook. We ate really
Nice.
well there.
Nice.
Really well.
That's awesome. Well, guys, I don't want to take too much more of your time. There's so much great music out here, and I know you got stuff to do to get ready, but we usually end, and this has been incredible for also the guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
We usually end on what you're getting down on. So that's like the art that has you inspired at the moment. So that could be music you've been
Recently,
listening.
What inspired recently?
Yeah.
To me, it's a guy from Sweden called Hannes, which is a very funny artist name because it's basically just a name, right? But maybe that's the cool thing about it. Anyway, he has that song Stockholm's Kvi.
Okay.
Stockholm's Kvi. I don't know how you say it in with a whatever.
Is it Swedish? It's probably a
think
Swedish
so.
title. Huh? It's from Sweden, huh?
I mean, it doesn't say it anywhere, but like when you go to his Instagram, there's like like they talk what sounds to me like Swedish.
Yeah.
And he has a feature with Saina Bose, and I think she's Swedish, so that would kind of make sense.
Okay.
Anyway, he's great, and his music, like there's 2 or 3 songs that really I listen a lot recently too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything in particular got you fired up?
I just like last 2 weeks I listened a lot to McGee
Okay.
and McGee and Dijon.
Okay.
I mean they're from the States.
This
But
is-
yeah, I love his what he does with his guitar, the way he plays, the way he tunes it, the way he sounds, and also like his singing. I think he has a great voice and great melody, very vibey, very rough. Also like the sound of the album was super rough,
Yeah.
a lot, but yeah, super vibey. It's
Cool.
nice.
All right, last quick question. We're at Bonnaroo. Who are you most excited to see?
I'm actually. It's funny because I told my family's gonna come, and my old one was like, he's super stoked to see Megan. He's a Megan fan,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm excited for that too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't see Fred again because we're gonna have to head out soon because.
I don't even know if we can see. I mean, you're talking about Megan Thee Stallion?
Yeah, we can see a little bit of hers. We're gonna leave right after her, so we won't catch Fred again. I would have been excited. It's actually crazy.
Okay.
Like 1.5 or 2 years ago, I had tickets to Fred again in Berlin at a 400 club, like
oh, wow.
tiny,
Uh-huh.
and I couldn't go, so I gave them to Clemens and Tony.
I was there.
And it was like one of the best shows, and I'm so bummed I couldn't go back then. And I had,
It was the last. After that, he blew up like crazy.
Yeah.
And we saw him in like that tiny Berlin club.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was
I mean, bummer for
so
you.
good. It was so
Yeah.
good.
I'm glad you got to
Yeah,
go.
it was so good. I caught the moment.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I was telling somebody recently how I saw Sturgill Simpson just before he really popped in this tiny little rock club in Jacksonville, Florida.
Right.
And like a week later, he's like,
I know, it's
on the
crazy.
arena
Yeah,
level,
sometimes how
but
fast it
just
goes.
it's crazy. But in Chapel Roan, I guess they moved to like one of the main stages
Alright.
today because she's blown up so much
Right.
lately. That's really fun.
I would have loved to see the Peppers yesterday, but
Man,
one day, 2
it
days.
was
Did you see
great.
It?
Yeah.
It was good?
Yeah, because I was kind of lukewarm on it. I grew up listening to the Chili Peppers a little bit. I'm 43,
Are they
so
four
like
on stage, or do they bring people out right now?
they had. Well, I was way in the back, so it's kind of hard to see, but I think it was just the 4 of them.
Okay.
But man, it was killer. I didn't say it for the whole set because it got past my bedtime, but. Yeah, man, I can't do it. I can't do it too late.
do it anymore?
Yeah.
It's a bad time at Bonnaroo.
For me, only it's self-imposed. Self-imposed. Everybody else stay up all night. My neighbor sure did. All right, guys, this has been incredible. I can't wait for your set later. And thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
I
All
wanna
right.
go to Tokyo. I wanna resonate. So tell me I can always
Philipp and Clemens, Milky Chance, y'all, how cool. Thank you so much. The song you're hearing in this episode is Milky Chance's new single, Naked and Alive. Their set at Bonnaroo was a special experience. If you have a chance to see them live, try to make it happen, y'all. MilkyChance.net for all things Milky Chance. MarinadePodcast.com for all things The Marinade. That includes written pieces like our Bonnaroo Jason's Journal recaps. I can't overstate how much I appreciate the opportunity to cover Bonnaroo. It's a high point in this work. I'm eternally grateful, y'all. Thank you so much for listening and spreading the word about The Marinade. Subscribe and give us a 5-star rating on your podcast app. Please tell a friend about the show. These are all free ways to support The Marinade. Go do that while you're listening. It makes a big difference for us and costs so little of your time and energy. If you really like what we're doing and can swing it for just $2 a month, consider joining our Patreon community. For just $2 a month, you gain access to Patreon exclusive content like our show, Jason's Journey, where I talk about the moments that shape my creative life and provide a window into the process of making The Marinade. One of the best days of the month for me is recording our Patreon exclusive show, What We're Getting Down On, with my dear friend, the brilliant and hilarious Peter Haraldson. We talk about the art that has us fired up at the moment. It's a blast. It's a great community we have over there too. Y'all, you can try a free trial of Patreon to see if you like it. No pressure. Try it for 7 days. Set a reminder on your phone in case you want to cancel, and keep going if you dig it. If you support the show, we want to support the show financially, but you don't want to commit to a monthly subscription, I totally get that. You can Venmo or PayPal us. It's just at The Marinade, and all the money goes right back into making the show. Y'all, I had the most incredible time on my Grounded Summer Tour, where I got back to my roots and had a chance to cover a couple of festivals, including Bonnaroo, for the second year in a row. I made my first trip to the Laurel Cove Festival in Eastern Kentucky this summer. That happens because of our Patreon patrons. I got one more huge announcement for you, and that is my dear friend Jordan Foley and I have a new podcast coming out at the end of this month. It's going to be called Life's Greatest Hits. The concept is we will loan each other a physical copy of music from our collection, usually a vinyl, something we think the other guy maybe doesn't know that well or hasn't listened to. We spend a month with the other person's record, and we reconvene to talk about it. We recorded the first episode earlier this month, and I just am thrilled with how it came out, and I'm so excited for y'all to hear it. So make sure that you subscribe to Life's Greatest Hits over on Instagram for updates. Above all, I just want to once again thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This was a huge thrill, an incredible episode. Until next time, go out and create something. Cheers, y'all.